welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a very unique document. It's a personal statement, really, detailing one person's claims about government surveillance and what they say happened next. Quite unexpected stuff.
Right. We've got this written account, basically their perspective, laying out these claims and observations.
Yeah, and our job today is to unpack it. Follow the sequence they describe, figure out the main arguments, and, understand why they think it's also significant.
Exactly. We're diving into their interpretation, seeing how they connect the dots in their narrative.
Okay, so let's get straight to it. The big one. The claim the government is spying. A lot.
Yeah, the text says every communication or most of it. That's pretty sweeping.
And the reason they give? Because the government funds communication research. That funding equals capability, basically.
That's the core of their rationale there. Funding implies they've got these super advanced methods.
It's an interesting jump in logic, isn't it? From funding research to near total surveillance.
It is. You have to wonder, does funding only lead to spying? But then it gets even more specific.
How so?
Well, they claim the government discovered a very advanced way to read human mind and communicate with him.
Wow. Okay, so not just listening in, but actually reading thoughts and communicating back.
That's the claim, direct access.
But then the document says something surprising. Despite all this power, the government apparently didn't see something coming.
Two things, actually. First, they didn't expect people, or maybe this person specifically, to know what they were up to. And maybe more importantly, they didn't anticipate this would spark a challenge of beliefs and governing and economy.
Challenge of beliefs, governing, and economy. That sounds fundamental. What kind of challenge are we talking about here, do you think?
Well, the source doesn't spell out the exact details of the alternative systems right then, but covering beliefs, government, and the economy. It suggests the individual felt their ideas were, a completely different blueprint for society.
A total paradigm shift, potentially.
Potentially, yes. Which leads right into their own role in all this.
Right. The source says, a guy like me, meaning the author challenged the government directly. And the government's reaction, allegedly, using that communication research, that power against him. An abuse of power is the term used.
Yeah, weaponizing these supposed capabilities. This is where it gets really personal in the narrative.
Individual becomes the focus, the target.
Exactly. And they claim this mind-reading tech isn't just any tech, it's the government's ultimate technology.
Their ultimate weapon deployed against this one person.
That's how it's framed. Though it's worth pointing out, there are no specifics given on what this tech actually is or how it works.
Right, which makes it hard to evaluate, but it definitely shows how powerful the individual believes it to be.
Absolutely. And then comes the pivot point, at least in their view.
Okay.
They claim victory. I win the debate, and my ideas won the challenge.
Won the debate? How? What debate?
Well, the basis given is presenting the best belief book, the most just governing system, and the most fair economic plan.
So it's an intellectual victory, not like a political win, but their ideas were just better.
It seems that way, like the ideas themselves triumphed on merit. The document stresses best, most just, most fair. It implies an inherent superiority.
So the ideas won. What then? Does the government accept this?
According to the source, no, they're in denial.
Denial. Why?
Two reasons are offered. First, admitting defeat would mean acknowledging this person's ideas are better, especially awkward after supposedly using their ultimate tech against him.
Pride, maybe. An embarrassment.
Could be. And second, a reluctance to accept this individual as, quote, the guided one with a better path.
The guided one. Okay, that adds another layer. A sense of destiny or higher purpose.
Definitely. It frames the government's resistance not just as political, but as maybe a failure to recognize truth.
So where does this leave things? What does the future hold, according to this account?
It predicts internal conflict within the government. They'll fight against themselves.
Over this issue.
Presumably. But eventually, the prediction is they will admit this person is the guided one and support their ideas.
Eventual acceptance. But not total.
No, it mentions resistance will continue from some elements within the government. Those who are described as following the devil ways by spying, who can no longer see the good.
Wow, so it frames the ongoing resistance in pretty stark moral terms. Good versus evil, almost.
Very much so. Spying itself is cast as inherently negative, devilish even, in that context.
Okay, so looking back at the whole alleged sequence, what are the takeaways? The lessons learned from this individual's point of view?
Well, first, they see the government's use of this ultimate technology as reckless, a serious overstep.
Understandable from their perspective.
Second, the fact that, allegedly, many people had to be involved to understand the challenger, that highlights how significant they believe their challenge was.
Like it took a village to figure me out, so I must be important?
Something like that. But interestingly, there's also a hint of understanding, maybe.
How so?
The document suggests the reason for the intense surveillance might have been precisely because the challenge was so fundamental. Like the government had to know everything because the ideas were so revolutionary.
Ah, so even while condemning it, there's an acknowledgement that the government might have felt it was necessary.
It's a subtle point, but it seems to be there. A kind of justification, even if rejected.
Okay. And how does the document propose resolving all this? What's the end game?
It's quite direct. The government should be humble and accept defeat.
Humility and acceptance.
And then they should grant me my reward as they think is best.
A reward. So recognition and something tangible, perhaps.
It certainly implies that. Acknowledgement of the victory and some form of recompense or status.
Right. So let's recap the whole narrative arc here. We start with claims of pervasive government spying, even mind reading.
Then this unexpected challenge arises from an individual presenting fundamentally different ideas.
Followed by a claimed intellectual victory, where these ideas are judged superior.
But the government denies this, allegedly due to pride and past actions.
Leading to a prediction of internal conflict, eventual acceptance, but continued resistance from some.
And finally, a call for humility, acceptance, and a reward for the individual.
It's quite a story.
It is. And as we've discussed, it's crucial to remember this is one person's account, their interpretation. It's deeply subjective.
Absolutely. It weaves together these huge claims about technology and power with a very personal sense of, well, destiny and intellectual achievement.
Verifying any of it is obviously difficult, maybe impossible, based just on this document.
Which really leads to the big question for you listening at home. When you encounter narratives like this, claims of hidden government actions, assertions of unique insight or truth, how do you even begin to assess them?
Yeah, how do you separate deeply held personal belief from, verifiable fact? Especially when power dynamics are involved.
What role do our own beliefs, our own frameworks for understanding the world, play in how we react to such, well, extraordinary claims?
It's definitely something to think about. In an age where information and maybe disinformation travels so fast, discerning these things is, well, it's a challenge in itself.
A fascinating challenge,
Yeah.
though. Definitely leaves you with something to mull over.